Alright guys, so we're back with another video. I'm going to show you guys how to create a more advanced search command that allows you to search for songs, and you can select multiple songs at the same time, and you can queue those songs. Obviously right now our play command already searches for the song, but we can only queue one. But this one, we're going to allow it to queue either all the songs or select the ones that we want. So for example, I have the bot. Let me just first join the voice channel. Let me join the voice channel. So we'll do search, and let's just do something like limitless. Okay, and we'll do Electronomia. Okay, now we have all the results, and we can select whichever ones we want. So if I want to select number 5, it's going to say you selected Electronomia Limitless. And if I try to select it again, it's going to say you've already selected already. So we can't select more than one song. And let's say if I want to select number 1. Okay, now if I go ahead and say stop select, it's going to say confirm or deny, and we can just confirm it. It's going to say now playing. I'm going to make it so that it will show you all the songs that you selected. But the music is playing right now. And if I do skip, it's going to skip to the next song. And let me just lower the volume over it. You guys can't hear it because I have it muted right now. But now this won't have any conflict with our play command. So for example, if I did right, it's gonna we can also enqueue songs from here, okay? Because we are adding it to the same player. So now if I try to skip, it's going to be in the queue right over here, and it's playing the next song. So yeah, this is going to be a very, I don't know how long this tutorial is gonna be, but we're gonna be using so many things like message collectors, reaction collectors, and a whole bunch of stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on the implementation. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna have to do is obviously go inside our music folder. We need to create a new file called search.js, and we're gonna just copy the same structure that we have with our other music commands or other commands in general. So I just copied and pasted the same thing, and I'm just going to go ahead and call this search command, and we're going to rename this to search. So our command is going to be prefix and then search. Okay, so now over here, what we need to do is we need to go ahead and do a couple of checks, right? Because we want to make sure that we're not just allowing everyone to use this command. We want to make sure that the person that's using this command is in the voice channel, as well as they're in the same voice channel as the bot itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and first do const. We're going to use object destructuring. So we're going to get the voice channel from message.member.voice. Okay, so this is object destructuring. And then we're also going to get the player. So if the player or the channel, if one of them doesn't exist, or if they both don't exist, then we're going to go ahead and say, look, you need to be in the channel. So let's get the player. We're going to reference client.music.players.get. So this is going to get us the player. Okay, the music player. And then we're going to go ahead and check to see if channel and player. Now, if both of these are not truthy values, we're just going to go ahead and say, we'll do console log. Obviously, you would probably want to send a message to the channel. We'll do that instead, actually. Let's do message.channel.send. Okay. So like I said, if we're not in the same, if we're not in the voice channel, or if the player doesn't exist, it's going to send this message. And if I go over here, if I try to do search, it's going to say not in voice channel or player does not exist. If we leave, okay, it's going to say the same thing. But if we have the bot join the channel and then we use the command, it's not going to say that. But if I go into this other channel, it's still going to work. So we need to account for that case too. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and check to see if the channel.id is equal to player.voicechannel.id. So player itself, like I said, is the music player. Okay, it's the player instance that the Arela client handles. Okay, and the player instance has a property called voice channel, and that's the voice channel that the bot is currently in. When you create a player, the bot is going to join that voice channel immediately. So from here, what we're going to do is we want to search for the song. So remember, we have arguments for our command. So we're going to go ahead and just get the args. So we're going to do const query. And the way our arguments are split up is we're using spaces. So we're going to join args with a space. So that's going to get us the entire search query. Okay, so if we're in the same channel, then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get the search results. So we're going to do const search results. And we're going to await client.music.search. We're going to pass in query and message.author. Okay, so now we can actually search for songs. And if we console log this. Okay, so right now if I have the bot join. So bot's going to be inside here. But if I try to search for, let's say, Limitless NCS. Okay, you can see in the console that it's not working over here. Okay, but if I was in the same channel, if I searched again, then it's going to have all of our search results, which is pretty cool. So that's pretty much it for that part. So now what we need to do is we want to display the search results to the user. So this is literally just the same thing that we did in the play command. So we're going to declare a variable called I and assign it to 0. And we're going to declare a variable called tracks info. So this is going to be a string. So we're going to also have to get the tracks. So we're going to have to do const tracks equals. We're going to get tracks from 0 to 10. So we're basically going to slice the array. Okay, so we're going to reference search results dot tracks dot slice from 0 up to 10. Okay, and from here, we're going to go ahead and map through that array. And we're going to go ahead and just do track. And I'm going to use a template string, so ++i. So this is going to increment I by 1 beforehand. So we're going to get 1 in the first iteration. And we're going to do track.title and then track.uri. So let me explain what's going on here. So the search result has a property called tracks, which gives us the array of all of the songs that were searched. We only want 10. We don't want like 30 or 40. Okay, I'm not sure what's the max that it returns, but obviously it returns a lot. So we only want to slice it to a certain amount. So we're getting all of the elements from 0 up to 10. So we're going to get 10 elements at most. So obviously if the search results dot tracks, if this was, let's say, only 5, then this would only give us 5. So now we're just mapping through that array. We're transforming that array and returning a new array because I just want the title as well as the URL. We can't just send the array the way it is. We need to stringify it. Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm calling map on tracks, and this takes in a callback function, and we're iterating through every single element inside the tracks array. And inside that tracks array, we have an array of tracks. Each element is a track instance, which has the property title as well as the URI, which gives us the URL. And we're just simply showing the member all of these tracks in a nice formatted way. So now we're just going to go ahead and I'm just going to copy this from the play command. But I'm going to create a new embed, but we have to import embed up here. So we do add message embed equals require Discord. So I'm just importing message embed from Discord.js, and we're just going to send this to the user. So now let's test this out. So let's search limitless. So now it should do the same thing. Nothing different. Okay, so now what we need to do next is we need to actually set up a message collector. So this is going to be a little bit crazy, but I promise you it's going to be fine. So we need to set up a message collector. So we're going to do const collector equals message.channel. We're going to create a message collector in that channel, and we're going to pass on the filter. Now this filter is going to be very, very straightforward. So let's declare filter up here, and it's just going to take in one parameter, m, which is the message that we are collecting. We want to make sure that the author that is selecting their songs, because this filter is used for selecting songs, okay? We want to allow the user to select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or all of them, or just some of them, or just one of them. So we want to make sure that the user that's selecting the song is the same user that invoked the command originally. So we're going to check that right over here. m.author.id is equal to message.author.id. We're going to also make sure that the channel, that the user is in the channel. So we're going to do channel ID is equal to player.voicechannel.id. Some people might say, well, we did that check up here. Well, they can leave the channel. Okay, so we want to make sure that they're in the channel at all times. So if they leave the channel, then we won't consider their selection. And we're also going to make sure that their content, their selection is greater than or equal to 1, and m.content is less than or equal to tracks.length. So this is going to ensure that they're in the boundaries. Okay, so they're selecting something from 1 up to the lengths of the tracks array up here. Okay, we're not hard coding it as 10 because this itself can be 5 or it could be 6, because if we have a very vague search or a very specific search, it's going to return probably only like less than 10 tracks, for example. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. We're also going to check to make sure that they are selecting either 2 commands. So we're going to have this. We're going to declare a variable called constants, and we're going to create an array, and we're going to have QAll or stop select. So these 2 constants are going to allow the user to either QAll the songs or stop their selection, and then allow them to approve their selections. Okay, so we're gonna check to see if those selections are if they typed in those messages. So we're gonna do constants dot includes m.content dot to lowercase. Okay, so that itself should be just fine. We need to add this case, so if they either select a number, if they either type a number, or they type either one of these 2 elements inside this constants array. Okay, so hopefully that itself makes somewhat sense, and I actually need to make sure that this is... okay, yeah, that's fine. Now, for the filter itself, I think we're good for the message collector. Obviously, This itself should be just fine. We can also have we don't really necessarily want a max, because if we wanted a max, we would just use await messages. The thing is that we don't know how many songs the user wants to select. Okay, so we're going to opt out from passing in the options, and we're going to let them stop when they want to. Okay, so now we need to handle this collector. The best thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a wrapper down here. We're going to create a wrapper function called handle collector. This is going to take in the collector, the message collector, as well as the array of tracks. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to return a promise. Okay, this is going to seem a little bit weird. Okay, but we're basically creating our own function that wraps this collector on. If you've never used message collectors before, basically every single time whenever you whenever you listen to the on collect or the collect event, every single time the message passes this filter, it's going to emit this event. Okay, now I don't want to put all this code inside this, right over here. I want to separate it. So I'm creating this separate function called handle collector, and we're going to return a new promise. And this promise is going to take in a callback function. Well, the constructor takes in one callback function over here, which takes in two parameters in here, resolve and reject. If you are not familiar with promises, I highly recommend you look into promises. Basically, promises can either resolve or reject. Okay, and it's going to go inside the fulfilled state once we either do one of those two things. But what we want to do is we want to basically do a try catch down over here. So we're going to do try catch. Let's handle the easy case first. If we reject, if there's an error, we're just going to reject the error. Okay, now inside the try, we're going to do collector collector.on. We're going to listen to the collect event. Okay, and inside over here, this is where we're going to do what we need to do. This is where we're going to add the songs to the tracks that we want to queue. This is where we're going to listen to the or check to see if the message that they sent was queue all or stop select. So before I do anything else, I know this might seem very, very weird, but let me just log message.content just so you guys can see what's happening. And right up over here, I'm going to go ahead and call handle collector, and we're going to pass in collector, and we're going to pass in tracks, and we're going to await it. This part is important. Okay, so let me just console log done. Okay, and let's just go inside here for now. We're not going to do anything crazy, but let's go inside here and let's have the bot join. Let's do search limitless Romeo. Okay, so now watch this. If I type 1, it's going to say 1. If I type 2, it's going to say 2. 3, queue all. It's going to say queue all. If I say stop select, okay, it's going to say stop select. But if I type this, it's not going to pass the filter, so it's not going to log it down there. So our message collector is handling it down here. Every single time we're typing messages, right over here on line 33, we are creating that message collector, okay? And we're filtering out certain messages right over here with this filter, and we're handling that collector down here. Okay, the reason why I want to handle it down here is, like I said, we could have put it up here. It would have been a lot easier, but I feel like it's best if we wrap it inside the function over here, because like I said, the collectors, these events will happen asynchronously. So what I want to do instead is, once we're actually done with our selection, we're going to resolve this promise, because we have other things that we want to continue with after this line over here. Okay, so we want to basically wrap this inside a promise, and we're only going to resolve this promise only when the user has either queued every single song that they wanted to queue, and then we're going to resolve it. Or when an error happens, then we're going to go ahead and reject the promise, which means that an error happened. I know it sounds really weird, but let's just continue on, and hopefully it'll make more sense. I'm going to re-explain everything over and over again. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to check to see if message.content.to lowercase is equal to queue all. So if this is true, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just stop the collector. So collector.stop. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and just resolve all tracks. Now, when the collector stops, it's going to emit the end event, which is going to give you, you can handle it however you want, but we don't really need to listen to the event when the collector ends, so we don't need that for this case. We're just going to stop the collector, okay? And we're going to resolve the tracks, okay? Because if they type queue all, that means they're trying to queue every single song. So just simply resolve every single one of the tracks. Just resolve the original tracks array. Okay, now, if they type, let's do message.content, to lowercase, stop select. Then what we're going to do is we're going to stop the collector. We're going to resolve tracks to queue. Now this array over here is going to contain all these selected tracks. Okay, not the tracks that we search for, but the tracks that we want to select from the search result. So we're going to resolve this array. So this array right now is empty when we first declare it, but at some point it might be non-empty. Okay, because down here in this else case, if none of these cases are true, we're going to go out to the else case. That means that they selected a number. They're trying to select a song. They typed in a number. And our filter over here handles that for us, okay? So anything that does not pass this filter will never go inside this message collector down here, inside this event. So if that's the case, we're going to go ahead and declare a variable called entry. And we're going to assign it to, we're going to assign message.content to it. And what we need to do is we need to create a set called selections. Okay, so this set is going to allow us to add their selection to this set over here. And we're going to check to make sure that the set doesn't have the number that they selected. So we're always going to have to check if selections has entry. And this is going to allow us to tell the user that they've selected that song already. Okay, so you already selected that song. Okay, so entry is a number. So now else, we're just going to go ahead and send another message. So we're going to do message.channel.send. And we're going to do you selected. And we're going to do tracks, we're using string interpolation, entry -1, because tracks is an array, okay, and the user is selecting from 1 up to 10. Okay, so we need to subtract 1, because if you select 1, that means they want to get the song at position 0 in the array. So we have to subtract 1. Okay, and we need to reference title. And let's just do tracks to queue push. Tracks entry -1. Okay, and we have to then reference selections, and we're going to add entry to the set. So before we add to the tracks to queue, we're going to check selections if it has entry. So if they type 1, we're going to check if 1 is in the set. If 1 is not in the set, then we're going to go inside this else case. And then we're going to add 1 to the set. So watch this. So now, I know we've done a lot, but let's just test this out. So we're going to have the bot join. Let's just do limitless NCS. Now if I select 1, it's going to say you selected, okay. And down over here, okay, where it's happening over here, if I try to select it again, it's going to say you already selected that song. It's happening right over here, you already selected a song, because we added the entry, we added 1 to the set. If I wanted to log, let's just log this real quick. Let me log selections, just so you guys can see what selections actually looks like. So if I do 1, if I do 1 again, if we look over here, notice how before set was empty, but now set has 1. If I try to select 1 again, it's going to detect that 1 is inside the set. If I try to select 2, it's going to work. And you can see if I try to select 2 again, our set now has 1 and 2. So hopefully that makes sense. Alright, so now before we do anything else, I'm going to just clear the selections, or I'm going to clear the set inside stop select. Okay, and likewise inside queue all. So now, in order for us to actually get these tracks, we need to actually resolve tracks to queue. So we need to actually type stop select. Okay, and once we type stop select, then it's going to resolve tracks to queue. So you can kind of think of resolving as kind of like returning. So inside this promise, we're inside the resolve and reject state, where we can either resolve or reject, right? Right now, the promise is still pending, and it's not going to go into the fulfilled state until we either resolve or reject. But how do we know when to resolve? Well, when the user either queues every single song, so they type queue all, or they type stop select, so to only resolve the tracks that we want to actually select from. And when we resolve or reject, it's then going to go back up to here. It's going to go back to line 35. We are awaiting this promise. Okay, if we don't await this promise, it's going to happen. It's going to stay inside the pending state. So for example, handle collector is going to resolve the array of tracks to actually play. So tracks to queue. Okay, if I go ahead and if I do console log tracks to queue, and I know I have another console log. Let me just get rid of this over here so I can show you guys so we don't have so much clutter on our screen. So let's have the bot join the channel. Okay, there we go. Search and CS limitless. Okay, so now notice how it says promise pending. Okay, so if I try to search, it's not going to work because we are not awaiting this promise. So we need to await that promise. Okay, now let me just do a simple console log here, and let's just say done. It's not going to log done this time. Well, let me do this. Look, if I save right now, okay, and let me just restart the bot. Okay, and if I go into here, and if I do join, if I do search and CS limitless, it's going to go over here and it's going to say done, but we're not done yet. Okay, because the promise is still in the pending state. We're not done yet. So now if I await the promise, and I'm assuming that some of you guys already know how promises work, but I want to explain this so people, you know, who might be somewhat new or following along, but I'm assuming that you guys already know how promises and how asynchronous works. Okay, but I'm explaining this because we're using the wrapper function handle collector. So this might be new to some people. Okay, but we need to await that promise, and then we need to then allow the user to search for stuff. So now look over here, it doesn't say done anymore. But if I type 1, 2, 3, and if I do stop select, now watch this. We have our array of tracks, and it says done. See how that works? We awaited the promise, and once the promise was done, well, how do we know when this handle collector function that returns a promise, how do we know when it's done? Well, when we type stop select or QWall, it's going to stop the collector, it's going to clear everything from the set, and it's going to resolve. And when we resolve, it goes into the fulfilled state. The promise goes into the fulfilled state. So it goes from pending to fulfilled, and then it goes back up here, and then we can log tracks to queue as well as done. So I really hope that makes sense. If you guys need clarification, feel free to join my Discord server, and I'll be more than happy to clarify everything. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the handle collector. Okay, so now what I want to do next is I want to go ahead and just simply send the message to the channel. So we're going to go over down here, and let me just get rid of all this. I want to send the user all of their selected tracks. So I'm going to reset I to 0, and I'm going to do the same thing I did up here to get the tracks in a string form. So we're going to do const selected tracks info equals tracks to queue. Okay. And we're going to increment I with a prefix operator plus I, and then get the track.title as well as track.uri. And then I'm going to go ahead and just send that to the channel. So we're going to create a new embed. So we're going to do const selected tracks equals new message embed. Whoops. And we'll do set author. You don't need to set author, but we're going to do client.user.tag, client.user.display avatar URL, and then set description. We're going to go ahead and pass in selected tracks info. There we go. And now we're going to have to send that message so to allow the user to either confirm or deny. So we're going to do const message await message.channel.send. So we're going to await this. We're going to await this message. We're going to wait the send method because we want to get the message that the bot sent because we're going to listen to reactions on that message. So we're going to do confirm. So we need to get the actual emojis. So to get the emojis, we're going to do thumbs. You can use whatever emoji you want. Okay, but to get the actual Unicode emoji, you have to do / and the name of the emoji. Okay, so I did / thumbs up. So thumbs up, and that got me the Unicode. So confirm or deny. Let's just get that right over here. Okay. So now we're just going to react 2 times. So we're going to react with the thumbs down or thumbs up and then thumbs down. So before I do anything else, let's just go ahead and we have to also pass in the embed too. So selected tracks. Okay. Let me call this selected tracks embed just so we're not confused. Okay, and now if I go here, now let's have the bot join. Limitless Electronomia. Okay, so if I do 1, 2, and 3, now I'm going to do stop select. Now watch this. It's going to show you all of the tracks that we asked for. And now confirm or deny. So now what we have to do from here is we need a reaction filter, and we need to use await reactions. So what we're going to do is we're going to declare a new variable called const reactions. I know it's a lot, but trust me, it's going to be worth it in the end. So just stick right to it. Just keep going. Don't stop. So we're going to await the reactions. So notice how I'm referencing message dot await reactions, because this is the message that the bot sent with the 2 reactions that we want the user to react to. Okay, so message dot await reactions, and we're going to pass in the reaction filter. And we'll just set it so that the max is 1, time is 1500. And if any errors happen, we're just going to handle that. Okay. So I'll put a separate try catch over here. So try down here. Catch error. Okay. So we're gonna have to declare the reaction filter. So const reaction filter. So this is going to be our reaction filter taking 2 parameters, unlike the await messages, the filter for await messages or message collector. It takes only 1 parameter, which is message. So we want to make sure that the user is reacting with the correct emoji. So we're going to put this inside an array, and we can check to see. We can do dot includes reaction dot emoji name. So this is going to make sure that they are reacting with the correct emoji. Okay, and we're also going to make sure that the user that is reacting is the same user that invoked the search or the command. So message.author.id. So we're checking if user.id is equal to message.author.id. Okay, so that itself should be enough for a reaction filter. All right, so now down here, we're going to go ahead and get the reaction. So we're going to do const selected reaction. We're going to do reactions. So this is going to return a collection. If I'm not mistaken, yes, it's going to return a collection of all the reactions. So we're going to do reactions.get, and we're going to either get the thumbs up. So if the user didn't react with thumbs up, then that means they reacted with thumbs down. Okay, and our filter is going to prevent them from reacting with other emojis. So if they react with thumbs up, then it's going to return this. Okay, if they didn't react with thumbs up, this get over here is going to be undefined. Okay, so we're going to check to see if they reacted with thumbs down. Okay, and if they run out of time, it's going to go inside this catch down here. So now we're going to go ahead and check to see if selected reaction. We need to check the emoji name. So if the emoji.name is equal to thumbs up, then we're going to go ahead and load all their tracks. So all of our tracks were resolved from the promise down here from handle collector. We resolved that value, and it's stored inside this tracks to queue variable. So we're going to have to go through that array. So we're going to have to do for const track of tracks to queue. And we're going to have to just do player.queue.add track. So that's going to just add the track to the queue. And like I said, it's not going to have any confliction with our play command. It just works perfectly fine. And we'll just do a simple console log. And we'll also make it so that if the player is not playing, then we will just play the song. So if player is not playing, then player.play. Okay, and if they did not react to the thumbs up, we're just gonna say canceled, did not queue any tracks. Okay, that should be good enough. And I think we're practically done. So let's go ahead and try this out. So let's do a simple join. Search electronomia limitless. Okay, so we're going to select 1. And we'll just stop for now. So now we're going to confirm. Now the bot is going to play the song. Okay, so you can see that the bot, the green circle is on. Now if I try to play another song, let's do okay, so in queuing that, now if I do skip, see, no effect at all. Okay, so now if I want to queue more tracks, so let me just stop the bot. Okay, and let me just have our bot join, and let's search limitless NCS electronomia. Okay, and I can select, like I said, I can select whatever songs I want. I can select 1, 2, 3. Okay, and now if I do stop select, I was gonna say, look, these are all the tracks that we selected. Before, it only showed us one over there. And then we can do select. Okay, now it's gonna play the song. You can see the green circle. Okay. And yeah, I think that is pretty much it for this whole tutorial. I know it was long. How long have we been recording? 30 minutes. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Okay, and like I said, it doesn't conflict with your play commands. If I want to play some other song, let's say cartoon howling, I can just Q1 and that should be just fine. And if I want to skip, it's going to be just fine. Assuming that your player is set up correctly. Okay, and like I said, if you've been following the entire tutorial, there aren't any other differences with the other code. I didn't change anything up. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I think in the next video, we're going to do a view queue command. And I think that would work really well with the commands that we have so far. So hopefully you guys like this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Peace.